Good morning, Noah.
Good morning.
I have a question for you. Tell us who Noah Sosin is, how long you been here in our community, and why in Dominicans?
All right. Who am I? In what sense?
Yes.
All of them. I'm I'm a I'm a man. I'm a father. I'm a partner. I'm the lead guitarist of Frosting, and I've been here for 7 years almost. Our family moved up here in 2017. Um, we had been living in Denver for a few years, and had been getting a little. We'd been doing a lot of the similar work that we do up here, and we're just getting frustrated by some of the bureaucracy and the politics of trying to do social justice work in a bigger city, with multiple, sometimes competing, sometimes parallel organizations working on the same things. Got connected through a couple friends and professional acquaintances to some folks in Lake County, got passed around a lot, ended up meeting Katie Baldassar, who was the previous executive director of our organization, and started having some conversations with her, and the community of organizations and the community of people who were engaged in the work, and the scale and the possibility for change, and just the yeah the potential energy, I guess, around all of these movements seemed uh, amazing, and something that we wanted to be a part of, and started as an intern at Build Generation that spring, and then in the fall a position opened up, and I applied for it and got it, and then we just stayed and kept doing work and made a baby, and we've loved it up here.
That's awesome. This is a great place. Noah, you already talked a little about your beginners here in Bag,
Mm-hmm.
but can you just tell us a little more about how you start here and what your participations was in the organization, and also can you explain the different roles you have at here?
Yes. Um, so I started in 2017, doing like a research kind of project for the organization and the community, around manufactured housing and the laws governing tenants' rights in manufactured housing communities in Colorado, and the the work turned into a position. I don't remember all of the titles of the jobs that I've had here, but we had a grant to do some organizing in Mountain View in particular, and so I received that job and started working on that project with Eudalia, and worked very closely with Full Circle, Carla Alder when she was still here, and trying to just try to organize and understand the concerns and needs of the community, and help them work with working with the residents and the manager, connecting them and helping them advocate for improvements to their community, and got connected to the statewide movement at the time, that was advocating for the first major overhaul of the Mobile Home Park Act in Colorado, and connected with some folks from DOLA, and House Speaker McCluskey, and worked really closely with them, and helped connect residents, and other community members and their experiences, and played a role in advocating for that legislation. And then over the years, so that was a coordinator level position. I've been a manager at the organization. I've been a director at the organization, and then for the last 2 years, I've been the executive director. So all levels of the organization, and I think it's the only time I've done that anywhere. But I think it served well in a leadership role to have been in coordinator and managerial roles as well, and understanding kind of the different levels and needs of staff at the organization. All right. So working in manufactured housing was my start at the organization, and then I started managing that project, and we started working in Lake Fork, and then there was an opportunity to help kind of restructure the organization, provide more capacity in like the internal operations, and start oversight of all of the facilitators and all of our different projects. And so I did that for a few years, and then was able to, when the opportunity for Cooperativa Nueva Unión presented itself, I was no longer doing the work, unfortunately, but I was supporting it, and I was really happy to see that happen and to be able to play a small role in the purchase of that community and playing a role in the support of it, because that was the original project that I started on, and that was one of the original like kind of pie in the sky recommendations that I made to the organization. Is it would be amazing if Lake County could eventually have a resident-owned community, because that is the most surefire way to ensure that tenants have stability and have their rights protected in the state of Colorado. And so seeing that come to fruition and see them continue to thrive and do well has been incredibly rewarding. And then the last couple of years has been executive director, which the board and I made a decision, had conversations about when I was hired, that it would be a short-term thing. And I thought there was a little bit of value that I could bring to the organization, mostly focusing on internal operations and ensuring that Builder Generation was a financially sustainable organization in the near term, and then also spent a lot of time and energy trying to make it a place that took care of its staff and tried to model the values and the world building and the systems change work that we're trying to do externally, trying to make sure that we treated our staff differently than capitalist labor models dictate, and trying to make sure that we were preaching internally the change that we're hoping to create externally as well. So.
Thank you, Noah. So I have another question for you. What were the most and least rewarding moments in your role as ED?
I think, like I said, one of my main objectives for my short time as executive director was to make sure that we were creating an organization that took care of its staff in a lot of different ways, and created a work environment that people wanted to be a part of, not in a toxic you never want to leave sort of way, but in a way that makes people feel valued as human beings. And I think that there have been a couple things over the last couple of years that have made me feel like I've accomplished that, at least in small ways. And so there's not a particular moment or thing that we did, but just small things over the couple of years that made me feel like we accomplished that together. And I guess project wise, I talked about CNU, but CNU is huge, and will serve the community forever, and being able to have been a part of the organization during that process and supported staff and supporting residents in that purchase was huge. Least rewarding, I don't know. It's a good thing, right? We spent a lot of time and energy and effort over the last couple of years restructuring the org, but the executive director at this point isn't involved in day-to-day operations, and isn't supporting coalitions, and isn't interacting with community members as often. And that was what I had done in the organization and in the community for several years beforehand, and so not having that as often and not having that direct connection to the work has been hard. And I think that's why it was rewarding to kind of take care of the internal operations and the staff in place of having those direct interactions with community members. So.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Noah. Taking into account that you have seen the organization from different points of view, how would you describe Lake County Building Generation?
It depends on who I'm talking to and what the context is, but we're a unique organization, I think, and that makes it hard to always pin down what our role is or what we do. But I think at its core, Lake County Builder Generation is a futurist organization who is hoping to imagine and help build a stronger and more equitable and better future for the Lake County community. And we do that from a position that's like a little bit more removed and more difficult to think about because we're not taught or trained to think at a systems level, but not approaching food or housing or childcare or youth development from a program perspective or like an immediate need perspective, but trying to think about the long-term the long-term solutions, the policy solutions, the way that the systems perpetuate the inequities, and working to address those, while also trying to build community power and education and honor the expertise and the perspectives of the folks who are living in Lake County and experiencing the hardships or have unique or new ideas on how to approach solutions. So we work closely with residents, we work closely with government, we work closely with partner organizations on big picture problems and issues that nobody can take on their own, and try to bring in resources to support those initiatives, try to bring in outside expertise, try to lift up internal expertise, create plans, and then help implement them.
Thank you. Okay, what are your dreams and expectations for our organizations?
I have none. Not because I don't care or because I haven't thought about it, but I don't want to put any pressure or expectation on future leadership of this organization. I've been here for my time, and I've done the things that I felt were important and led the way that I wanted to. But I don't want to influence how they take this organization and what they do with it.
Thank you, Noah. That's a pretty honest answer. Thank you. Okay, Noah, tell us what you take away from your time in Lake County.
Lake County is an incredibly special place for a lot of reasons, and it's not a place that we'll ever be able to live as a family, and that's something that we're coming to terms with. But it is a place that I'll always hold a special place in my heart, and that I hope to come back and visit. There's an incredibly high density of good people in this community, and just the small town ethos of banding together and not hoarding and being territorial is something that I feel privileged to have been a part of and experienced for the last period of my life. I do believe in the initial promise of the town for me, the high potential for collaboration and change. And I think that the flip side of that I've also seen is that in a small community, it only takes one or two actors to halt that work. And that can be frustrating to see, but at the end of the day, right, it's only one or two actors. And so figuring out how to navigate those situations and find common ground and keep the work moving forward is still a fully reasonable task, and something that can be done.
Thank you, Noah. Okay, tell us something random about yourself.
Okay. things that people may or may not know. My go-to one that I've used at the organization before is that I played Quidditch in college, and we traveled to the Quidditch World Cup, which was in Burlington, Vermont, or Middlebury, Vermont. Sorry, and I've run the Leadville 100 here. I currently play guitar in a cake cover band called Frosting, and I have like a very kind of like obsessive brain, and the current obsession in my brain right now is backgammon. I've been playing like an unreasonable amount of backgammon on my phone.
That is awesome. Thank you. Do you have any advice for our new ID? No?
Yeah, I think, do your best to find the pieces of the job that are rewarding. It turns into a very administrative job, and it's easy to get disconnected from the work that is being done at the organization. And so finding ways to stay connected to that and stay connected to community members is important. And finding, allies and folks to peers and mentors, because it can be, it's a shift in the role when you become like the big boss, and so finding ways to keep you grounded in the work, and also finding ways to have support, and not feel isolated in leadership is important, and enjoy, right? Like it's a great position at an amazing organization in a very special town. So find ways to find joy in it as well.
Thank you so much, Noah. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the time you already been here in our community and our organization.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Thank you, Lisa.